Hi, Blue Demons. It's Courtney from the Office of Student Involvement. I'm joined today by Jeff Quest from the Student Centers, and we are here to just talk to you a little bit about what usage of the Student Center currently looks like and how you can continue to use the space during this fall quarter. So, Jeff, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Courtney. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So to get us started here, if you wouldn't mind, can you tell our students a little bit about what general use of the Student Center looks like? What will it look like when they now come into the Student Center?
Sure. Well, the Student Center is open. We have reduced hours, but we're only open for students, faculty, and staff that are current with DePaul. So, everybody should know about the Campus Clear app. And we just have somebody at the entrance to make sure that anybody coming in is wearing a mask and also has completed the Campus Clear app for that day. And you can get into the Student Center. And
Great.
so we're back up and running.
Great.
And happy to see these students back there.
Yeah. So outside of, general student use, a lot of what our students would do in the Student Center is they would utilize the facility for their student organization meetings. Can you talk a little bit about what does usage look like in the facility for student organizations right now? Can they make reservations? And just generally, what does usage look like?
Sure. Well, we do have spaces available for student orgs to reserve, with the caveat that, normally we could have fit, say 100 people in 314A. Now we're reducing that number, obviously, for social distancing. So with that said, we still have a lot of spaces available for reservations for student orgs, and we're happy to have them back on campus to do some, limited amount of events in person following the safety protocols that we have out there.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I think one of the things that I'm oftentimes hearing from student organizations, particularly because of our work in student involvement, is they are going to off-site venues right now, or they're going to, local parks, or they're trying to find other spaces to host their organizations. So I think for me, it's really important for our student organizations to know that they can come to campus, right? They can come to campus. The quad is available, these spaces, the 120 AB, these spaces that you're typically used to using, you can still use right now. The process, the reservation process does look a little bit different. And Jeff, I want to talk to you about that a little bit here. But I think it is a lot of our students, I think they're student organizations, they're almost making it hard on themselves. They're saying like, we're going to try to block off this portion of Oz Park for just our student organization members. And we know it's important for you to continue to meet. So yes, we have a couple of additional steps to those gatherings here at DePaul, but you can still come back onto campus.
Yeah, for sure. For me, I've been at DePaul for a long time now, and as long as I've been here, I've been working in the Student Center. And the big thing about the Student Center is it's got student right in the name, you know what I mean? And so to see students back there and using the spaces here and using some of our outdoor spaces, we've even found a few new spaces that normally wouldn't be reservable that we could even offer up to folks if they want to do something outside while the weather is still great. So we really want to leverage what we can for the student orgs that we have.
Yeah.
Events.
Well, and I think that brings up another great question, Jeff. What is, for our students, what is considered a student-centered space? Like, what spaces does the Student Center manage?
Sure. So we manage all of the spaces in the Student Center, the Cordeloo Commons. There's a couple of spaces over in Monroe, but those are offline for right now. And then any space that would be an outdoor space that is reservable would be managed through the Student Center. So that would be something that you'd be reaching out to us for. So the quad, we have that available, but also St. Vincent Circle. And we've kind of partitioned the quad out into various areas so that you could have more than one event happening at once, which wasn't previously the case, but knowing that more people might want to use that outdoor space, that's one of the things that we've worked on. We also have, there's the courtyard in Monroe that we can potentially use for folks. There's some spaces over by the School of Music, so there are a lot of outdoor spaces that we could work with you to reserve.
Yeah, that's really great. And I would remind our students, so the reservation process looks relatively similar to what you've done in the past, with a couple caveats. throughout it. And Jeff, I'd love for you to expand on those a little bit. But students, if you go to studentcenters.depaul.edu, this is their homepage. And while you're there, you can find all of the information that you need about making those reservations and really about starting that process. So in this event management tab, there is a tab right here that says EMS event room reservation request. And that's where students go. It will walk you through the process. I know right now, a lot of our student organizations have transitioned leadership. And one of the issues that we oftentimes see, or challenges we see for our student organizations, is that they can't necessarily, or they struggle to turn over the accounts, right? From one organization leader to the next. But our student center staff can help you walk through that. And again, that EMS website it'll walk you through the entire process. You can see what spaces are available, and you can start that process right there.
Yeah, and we have some video tutorials available out there too that you can access if you haven't done the process before, or just email us at studentcenters at DePaul.edu, and we can walk you through any questions that you might run into.
Yeah. So I know, Jeff, one of the other things I want to spend a little bit of time talking about is this phase 4 event approval form, because we've gotten a lot of questions about it in student involvement. So for our students who are watching, one of the changes to the reservation process this quarter is that while the city of Chicago is in the phase 4 of the state's reopening, there is a supplemental form that you have to fill out. So we've got it up on screen here, but this is just a little bit of a supplemental information. So Jeff, do you want to talk students through it a little bit?
Sure. So really what this is, and this is university-wide, so it isn't just for spaces that the Student Centers manages. It's really for anything in the university that's having an in-person event. They're asking that folks fill this out. And that goes to some folks in our department who are working directly with other folks in the university that are really keyed into all of the safety requirements that we're all dealing with around COVID. And so they'll ask us a variety of different questions to make sure that whoever's making a request to hold an in-person event understands what their plans are for having people socially distanced, how they're going to keep those numbers to the appropriate number of folks that can be all together at once, and some other details like that, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the things that it might seem like an additional step, but from where I sit, particularly in student involvement, we know a lot of our student orgs, you're going back to in-person gatherings for the first time. So one of the great parts about the phase 4 event approval process is if you haven't thought through what physical distancing or social distancing will look like during an event, this form will help strategically have you think through it. So you can find the form at go.depaul.edu/phase4 event. You will get asked through the reservation process if you've completed it yet, and you will have to have completed it. I even know right now I'm working on a couple of events and they've asked me, have you completed your phase 4 event approval form? It's, again, like Jeff said, it's not just for student organizations, it's for any group that's going to host any in-person gathering here on campus.
Yeah, and it's I've looked at these forms in the past. There's other folks on my team. It's not just like you're sending it into the void where a robot looks at this stuff. It's real people like me that are looking at it and just double checking things and maybe asking a few follow-up questions if we have some concerns. The other thing is the more events that we do, the more we'll kind of have a set plan in place for these things, and it should be a pretty quick process for folks to go through.
Yeah. And Jeff, what's the turnaround for submitting the form for students?
Sure. I mean, you should hear something within 48 hours, for, I guess, 2 business days is really the way I'd say it. And if you don't, you can always email phase 4 events at depaul.edu, and they can follow up with you if you have specific questions as well. So,
yeah. Well, that's great. So, Jeff, when student organizations come back on campus, I know in the past, DePaul's had a pretty generous policy about allowing off-campus visitors. Right now, are events open to the community, or are they specifically, restricted to DePaul community members?
Yeah, we're really focusing on the DePaul community right now. We want those folks to be able to use the space, and it's just something that we can manage. And I know there's a lot of DePaul folks who want to be on campus, and so that's the best way to serve those folks right now. So.
Great. So the last thing, while I've got you here, I know everybody's always concerned about eating, right? Like, how can they eat? So I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about what current dining options look like in the student center, and then if there are any parameters around food for student organizations as well.
Sure. So we do have food offered right now. It's going to be a little different than you're used to, but not terribly different. We have brownstones open every day in the morning. We've got the 312 diner, if you're familiar with that, where you can get a burger and fries and shake over there. And then we also have the Create inner dining area available, where you can get its specific meals there as well. So for the folks living on campus, they can, swipe in there and get meals. But for folks coming in, you could also pay and get something there as well if you're on campus for some reason.
Yeah. And you shared with me beforehand too, if students are interested in getting menu options or seeing really what the options are for today, you can always see what's available at dineoncampus.com. It's not going to be a surprise to visitors. This is not what my home looks like. I'm actually in the student center right now, and I'll make it a point to stop by and get food either at 312 or in Create. I know right now in the dining center, they have this feature called Palm and Honey, which is like Mediterranean food, which I'm a big fan of. So, but you can check out all those different menus that are there as well.
Yeah, and for folks coming, it's going to look a little different, and it's actually kind of exciting because they've put a lot of safety measures in place. On the one hand, which is, obviously that's what we're focused on right now, but also some cool options where you can do mobile ordering right on your phone. There's an app you download, and you can order what you want and have a set pickup time for that, which is really great. I've used that multiple times, and it's wonderful. And there's also kiosks for contactless payment and things like that. So you can place your order on kiosks that are in the building, and that'll go right there, and then you can pick up your food. And that'll be something that's great even when we go back to more ramped up options. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, thanks again, or thanks so much for joining us today. I hope that the students watching just had the chance to learn a little bit more about what the student center operations looks like now, and how their student organizations can really utilize the space. Anything I'm missing or any follow-up thoughts as we wrap up our time?
No, I just say that we're really excited to see students back in the building. I was here all spring quarter working in the student center and over the summer as well. And, it's great to see students back. We want you to use the spaces that we do have available safely. And so, that's what we're here for.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that, Jeff. I think as a office that I think we consider ourselves a power user of the student center, because we do a lot of events, even in this virtual environment. And, right now in our remote environment, we're still trying to do a couple in-person things. The thing I'd share with students is if you're considering it, and again, if you're doing in-person gatherings, come back to campus, right? Especially if you're going to local places. The spaces are here for you. There's staff on site that are here to make your life a lot easier. On top of everything that Jeff talked about, there's also a lot of new tech available in some of these spaces. And the other thing that I'll tell you is you will never have faster internet at DePaul than you do right now, because the whole network is available for you and things download, upload. You have very minimal disruptions because we've got all of these resources for the physical space that when you're here, you can take advantage of as well. So if you need that space, be sure to reach out to student centers for sure. One last time, we'll throw up the Student Center's website where you can go to find all of their information. So studentcenters.depaul.edu, and they are here to help. So if you need anything, feel free to reach out. But until next time, we will talk to you later, Blue Demons. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks.